Stocks head for back-to-back weekly gains. The Dow turned slightly higher Friday, erasing a loss of 118 points from earlier in the day as Wall Street headed for back-to-back weekly gains. The 30 stock index was up 35 points in the last hour of trading as Home Depot and Verizon outperformed. The S&P chipmakers fell broadly after weak quarterly results from Broadcom. The VanEck Vector's other semiconductor stocks also fell. Micron Technology, the weak 2H outlook could pressure AVGO/peers. And semis in general. Sentiment on Wall Street was also dampened by disappointing industrial data from China. Industrial product. The major U.S. stock indexes posted solid gains in the previous session, adding to this month's sharp rally. The Dow, U.S. retail sales rose 0.5% in May, according to the Commerce Department. That was below the zero. We continue to expect that a sharper slowdown in economic growth over the coming months will convince the Fed to cut interest rates, but the retail sales data reinforce our view that officials are likely to wait until the September FOMC meeting before pulling the trigger, said Andrew Hunter, senior U.S. economist at Capital Economics. The Federal Reserve is scheduled to hold a two-day meeting on monetary policy next week. The central bank market expectations for a rate cut in July were at 86.3%, according to the CME Group's FedWatch tool. People are reading the Fed wrong. Everyone is CNBC's Ryan Brown contributed to this report. Raindrop, drop top, smoking, no cooking the hot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah.